Mr. Speaker, Harvey, Irma, Maria, the images of the human misery and the economic devastation are still clearly imprinted on our minds. Unfortunately, we know that part of this is as a result of a failed national flood insurance program, which, Mr. Speaker, faced three important challenges. Number one, it is a bankrupt program. It is unsustainable. Taxpayers on the hook for $1.2 trillion, running an annual actuarial deficit of $1.5 billion. It's already received two different bailouts for a combined total of about $25 billion. It incents and subsidizes people to actually live in harm's way. And finally, Mr. Speaker, it is a government monopoly that, notwithstanding subsidized rates, still, unfortunately, has unaffordable premiums for many. But today is a good day because today the House gets to vote on the 21st Century Flood Reform Act. I want to thank the gentleman from Missouri, Mr. Lukemeyer, for his leadership on the mapping reforms and reinsurance. I want to thank the gentleman from Florida, Mr. Ross, for his reforms on opening up the market. And I certainly want to thank the gentleman from Wisconsin, Mr. Duffy, for his tireless effort in leadership for bringing this bill to the floor. There's a lot of good reforms in this bill, Mr. Speaker, for both taxpayers and ratepayers. Let me just briefly touch upon two. It is an absolutely revolutionary reform, Mr. Speaker, that we can break open the government monopoly and bring in market competition, innovation, competition, more affordable rates for so many. Millman, one of the actuarial experts within the marketplace, released a study a couple of months ago that said, quote, based on our estimates, talking about market competition, based on our estimates, this would hold for 77% of all single families in Florida, 69% in Louisiana, 92% in Texas. All would see cheaper premiums. And we know that that's not theory. It is actually happening in the market today. In the nascent part of the market that is open, people are getting hundreds, if not thousands, of dollars of savings. And one of the great tragedies that I saw in my native state of Texas, in Houston, was how few people actually took up flood insurance. And think, Mr. Speaker, if we had competition, if we had advertising, if people could roll that into their homeowners' rates, how many more people would have been protected by the ravages of these hurricanes? One more reform, briefly. These repetitive loss properties where people live in areas that flood over and over and over. I met a couple of families, 3 floods in 8 years. We've got to help them. And so this bill provides more money for relocation, for flood-proofing, for mitigation than any other flood reform bill, almost by 25%. We would prioritize these areas, but we also have to realize if we're going to make this program sustainable, we cannot have 1% of the properties causing 25% of the losses. Ultimately, if all we do is rebuild the same properties in the same fashion, in the same location, that is neither wise nor compassionate. And so we have an opportunity to enact historic reforms. We should do it today, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman from Texas.